So essentially, this is a chat about a new sculpture which has been unveiled, or rather a revival of an old sculpture that has been recreated of Joseph Stalin at the Taganskaya station, and it tells us a great deal about the power, the memory of the USSR in Vladimir Putin's modern Russia, not just physically, politically, morally. This curious case of a Soviet dictator who was vilified, and who Medvedev and Putin are on record saying how bad times were under Stalin. And there he is, bookmarking this station. The image itself is replica of a bas relief entitled "People's Gratitude to the Leader and Commander," now greets commuters once again at Taganskaya. This is a central station in Moscow Metro, originally unveiled in 1950 during the height of Stalin's personality cult. And the sculpture depicts the moustached marshal standing in stoic command as workers and children gaze upward in adoration. Lenin's profile looms over him as though to lend revolutionary legitimacy. But the original disappeared during the 1960s when Khrushchev's de-Stalinization attempted to dismantle the cult of terror and replace some semblance of legality in Soviet life, and the panel was reportedly destroyed, erased, like so many of Stalin's victims, from public view and memory. Yet here it is again, officially. Moscow Metro authorities claim this is merely an architectural restoration timed with the Metro's 90th anniversary, but an architectural historian, Alexander Zinoviev, has said that this is no faithful reconstruction. The materials, the colours, the ornamentation diverge noticeably. This is not heritage, this is ideology masquerading as restoration. And this unveiling didn't happen in a vacuum. It came days after Russia's Victory Day celebrations on May the 9th, the most sacred date in the modern Kremlin's calendar. It came after discussions led by Putin himself about renaming Volgograd back to Stalingrad, and crucially it came as Russia continues its war against Ukraine, a conflict narrative in state media with heavy references to the Great Patriotic War. And Putin is not simply nostalgic, he is deploying memory as a weapon. Stalin, once denounced as a tyrant, is increasingly presented as a man who defeated Hitler, industrialized the USSR, built subways like palaces, and the message is clear. Russia needs strength, unity, and the iron will of a dictator, of a leader who brooked no dissent. Indeed, 105 of the 120 Stalin monuments standing in Russia today were installed during Putin's 25-year rule. And now Stalin is not just in the provinces, but in the heart of Moscow, literally underground, where he can loom silently over millions of daily commuters. So they won't be going around the place polishing the nose of the dog. They will be rubbing up against the groin of Mr. Stalin. And the Moscow Metro has always been more than public transport. Conceived under Stalin's first 5-year plan, it was a cathedral to Soviet power as he ripped down the Orthodox cathedral and installed a swimming pool. A democratic Versailles for the working masses. Stations like Komolsovskaya and Mayakovskaya are adorned with chandeliers, marble columns, mosaics of war heroes falling from the skies, farmers, and Lenin himself. They were designed not just to move bodies, but to shape minds. The Metro is a gallery of socialist realism, and every mural is a manifesto. Also, the Metro trains run on time. They're incredibly regular, and it is a pleasure. One of the great pleasures of living in Moscow was being able to use the Metro. By returning Stalin to that space, even as a replica, the authorities are doing more than just restoring an artwork. They are reasserting an icon, reasserting a principle and a propaganda that order, that glory, that sacrifice are preferable to messiness, reform or dissent. In short, that repression is forgivable if it is gilded and if it has if it restores order. It's tempting to reduce this to kitsch or absurdity, but there is something profoundly disquieting about the idea of Stalin returning to the metro tunnels. In some versions of Russian folklore, the dead never truly leave, they merely wait beneath the surface, and Stalin, the ghost of Soviet totalitarianism, like some sort of goblin, was never exorcised. He was buried, and now he returns in strange marble, unblinking, rising from the dead like a white ghost in the metro. Indeed, metro legends abound, from ghost trains ferrying the souls of Stalin's victims to Metro 2, the secret subterranean network supposedly built for elite escape during a nuclear war, and the uncanny sense that Moscow's metro contains not just history but unresolved trauma suddenly seems real again. So why then? What then should we make of Stalin's reappearance in the Russian metro? This isn't just about architecture, it's about amnesia dressed as nostalgia in an age where Russia's civic space is increasingly constricted, where dissenting voices are imprisoned, exiled, or they fall out of windows. The quiet reinstallation of a dictator in marble is a roaring political act by the current elite ensconced in the Kremlin and led by a man from a Smeg fridge. We must remember, monuments are not mirrors of the past, they are projections of the present. And when the Kremlin places Stalin back on a wall, it's not history they are restoring, it is control, it is oppression.